Let's get to these predictions. Grand Slam Track Philly is going down this weekend in Philadelphia. We've already been to Kingston. We've already been to Miami. This is now the third stop on the tour for Grand Slam Track in 2025. And of course, there's been some changes as it relates to the schedule, going down from 3 days to 2 days and, the removal of the 5,000. But for the most part, when we're talking about the sprints and the hurdles, which is what I'll be predicting today, it's going to stay the same and it's going to be exciting. 2 back-to-back days of high quality competition. All athletes are going to be on the track both days. I'm excited. And just like I did for Kingston and Miami, I'm giving you my full top 8 predictions for Grand Slam Track in Philly this time. And we're starting off with the men's sprints. Here, men's short sprints, this is going to be an exciting one. Let's start from the bottom. My bottom 3, I have Brian Lavelle, Udodi Onwuzurike, and Aaron Brown taking my 8, 7, and 6 spots. And I'm going to be honest, I could probably switch these 3 guys around. It was really hard to pick from all 3 of them, where Aaron Brown, Udodi Onwuzurike, they've run 10-0. Brian Lavelle has also run 10-0 this year as well. But when I'm actually kind of breaking things down, Aaron Brown probably is the more reliable athlete at this very moment, just based on what I've seen, of course, in previous years, and then, of course, coming into this year in 2025. Udodi, he's coming off of injury early in the year. He did run well at the Adidas Atlanta City Games. He ran a windy 10.03 second performance there, but I'm just slightly edging him behind Aaron Brown overall here, both in the 100 and the 200. I think that Aaron is just going to be a little more consistent. Brian Lavelle, he of course made the Olympic Games last year representing Jamaica in both in the 200. He's run sub 20 seconds, sub 10 seconds in both the 100 and the 200. But I think based on what we saw at the Adidas Atlanta City Games, where he ran the 200 straight, and some of the experience, I just think that the other guys are going to be able to just slightly edge ahead of him. But my number 5, this is where I have Christian Miller getting 8 points. And you can kind of see I actually edged him ahead of Aaron Brown with 8 points because I'm giving him the 3rd place overall in the 100 meters, but he is significantly lower down in the 200 at 7th place. Now in the 100, Christian Miller has had a relatively consistent season. He's run a best of 10.02 seconds. He's run at the Tom Jones Memorial. He went out to the Tokyo Golden Grand Prix. He actually beat out Christian Coleman in that race, running 10.08. So relatively consistent, and I think he has a lot of potential as to what he can really do in his first professional season and in a field like this against some very heavy hitters. This, I think, is going to be the most high-profile race that Christian Miller is going to be at so far in 2025, and I think he's going to take advantage of that opportunity. But when talking about the 200, I just don't think he has as strong of chops relative to the rest of the field. This year, he's run 20.79. He does have a personal best of 20.5 seconds from about 2 years ago, but so I don't think he's going to be able to stack up to some of the other guys, but I do think that's going to average out to a 5th place finish overall in the men's short sprints. But also with 8 points, I have Andre DeGrasse in 4th place, and I gave him the 8 points edge, even though he is tied with Christian Miller in terms of 3rd place in the 200. Christian gets 3rd place in the 100, but I think Andre's gap in the 200 is going to be significantly wider, leading to faster times. Andre is probably one of the most reliable sprinters that has been in the game since 2015 at this point. Now, of course, he's in the 2nd phase of his career, but I do think that he's still one of the guys who always is able to show up when it counts. We saw him at the last Grand Slam where he didn't finish well in the 100. He actually finished 8th place there, but he did move all the way up to 4th place in that 200. And it's kind of reflected here where I have him 7th in the 100 and then 3rd place overall in the 200. Remember, Oblique Seville is no longer competing here, so he's going to be taking out the conversation. This is where I do slip Andre DeGrasse in, and with that evening out, I give him 4th place overall. But 3rd place, moving on up, this is where I'm putting Christian Coleman. Now, Christian Coleman he has been having kind of an up and down season. He hasn't looked as great on paper as you might expect. But I do think this is going to be a moment for Christian Coleman to prove that, listen, I'm still one of the fastest guys all time. I'm still a former world champion. I'm still, in the game as one of the top athletes that everyone should be looking out for. I think this is where he's going to get an opportunity to really prove that. Yes, he still has time to get ready for USA Championships, but here in Grand Slam Track in Philly, I don't think he wants to let up. So Christian Coleman, I have him getting 3rd place overall, 4th place in the 100, 4th place in the 200, so it evens out to that 3rd place with 10 points. But up to 2nd and 1st place, you can probably predict this is where I have Zarnell Hughes as well as Kenny Bednarek. Both of them going 1-2. Kenny Bednarek is absolutely unstoppable when talking about Grand Slam Track. Undefeated in 100 and 200 in both Kingston and Miami. He's run 19.8. He's run a windy 9.7. Like, he's unstoppable in my opinion. Behind him, Zarno Hughes is looking absolutely amazing as well. He did excellent both in Kingston and Miami, and then he went to the Adidas Atlantic City Games. It was a straight 200, but he ran 19.55 seconds. That just proves that he is still in excellent form and he is not letting up in any capacity. So Kenny B, Zarno Hughes, Christian Coleman, that's my top 3. Andre DeGrasse, Christian Miller, Aaron Brown, Udodi Onwuzurike, Brian Lavelle. That's rounding out my top 8. This was not easy to pick, but shout out to all these guys competing. Again, Oblique Seville, he's not going to be here. I think he's dealing with some injury, so, from the Adidas Atlantic City Games, but shout out to him. Let's move over though. The men's long sprints. This was also very contentious, but I think things will, hold pretty steady relative to what we saw at the last Grand Slam track meet in Miami. Here, from the bottom, Javon Powell. Javon Powell, shout out to him, coming out of Florida where he was an extremely talented 400-meter sprinter. He's run 44.5, but he's been dropping down into the 200s a little bit, and now here as a Grand Slam challenger, he hasn't done as well in 2025 yet, dealt with some injuries, but I do have him getting 8th place here. Moving up to number 7, this is where I have Caleb McRae. Now, Caleb McRae, he's also, coming out of the NCAA. He went to the World Relays and he actually split 43 seconds on one of his 4x4 splits. So he's in some great form, but when talking about the 200, I just don't think he's going to be able to stack up to some of these other guys. So I do have him down in 7th, but in the 400, I do have him up in 6th place. A lot of the other guys, I just feel like they're going to be a little more competitive. Though Caleb is very strong and very talented, it was hard for me to place him above some of the other guys. So overall, 7th place. In that 6th place spot, this is where I'm giving it to Matthew Bowling. Now, this may be a little controversial considering where I have him in terms of 5th in the 200 and then down in 7th in the 400. The thing that I think about with Matthew Bowling is he has run 20.33 seconds in the 200 this year, and we know that he's, extremely capable, having run sub 20 in terms of his personal bests while he was at the University of Georgia. But I don't think, if I'm just stacking up to some of these other guys, I think that these guys are a little bit more talented and they're just going to get the edge over Matthew. Now, he very likely could, exceed my expectations, but just stacking things up, it's hard for me to actually place him there. Same thing in the 400 where his personal best is 44.84 seconds, and this year he's already run 44.9 seconds. But when you're looking at some of the other guys, I mean, Caleb McRae is probably the only other guy on this list who I would probably stack him ahead, but a lot of the other guys who are in this long sprints group, it's hard to say that he's actually going to beat him out, considering many of them have already run faster than his personal best in 2025. So Matthew Bowling, 6th place overall in the rankings, but he very likely could surpass my expectations. Just ahead of him, this was actually kind of tough, but Steven Gardner, now, this is pretty much a question mark at this point, right? He got injured at the Miami Grand Slam track meet after doing decently well in the 200, but didn't get to finish the 400, keeping the quote-unquote undefeated streak that he has in the 400 dating back to 2017. Every 400-meter race that he's finished, he's never lost. But here, I think if he's coming off some slight injury, if he's coming off some setbacks, it's hard for me to place him higher than any of the other guys. In the 200, he should be, in theory, either, top 1, 2, or 3, but, I have him down in 4th place, unfortunately, just because I can't trust that talent at the moment. In the 400, also a similar situation. It's tough to gauge where he's actually at, especially after not finishing that race. So overall, getting the 5 points in the 200, 4 points in the 400, that's where I'm throwing him in for 5th place overall. And just ahead, also with 9 points, Muzala Samakonga. He has been tearing it up, specifically in Miami, where Miami, he stepped up big time in the 200, getting a massive personal best, and that actually gave me a little more confidence in what he's going to be able to do here. Now, let's be clear. I have him 6th place in the 200, so he's not beating out some of the other top guys, but I do think he could probably definitely exceed my expectations. In the 400, based on what we saw in that 2 and the 4 in Miami, I think that he's going to be a solid 3rd place here. Now, things can change very likely, but Muzala is the bronze medalist from the Olympic Games, and he seems to be carrying it over very nicely in 2025, so getting my 4th place overall. Moving up to the top 3 though, Alex Ogando. Alex Ogando, 3rd place. This is tough because I think that he actually could maybe upset, for the win in the 200. I still have him getting 2nd place, who, behind, someone who could probably guess. But in the 400, I think he's going to get 4th place. I think he's starting to, he's not one of the stronger 400-meter runners in this field, but he does have the chops and he does have that talent. So I think that Alex Ogando is going to be able to step things up even further than what he did in Miami to get an overall 3rd place, with that 2nd in the 200 and 4th in the 400. Now, top 2, based on the guys that we have left, you could probably guess them. Number 2, Matthew Hudson-Smith, Dream Richards. I have him getting the win overall. Dream Richards is going to grab that 200 again. Like I said, it's going to be tough with Alex Ogando, and especially considering Alex didn't get to start in the 150 at the Adidas Atlanta City game, so he probably wants to really prove, himself once again. But Dream Richards, I feel like he is just on one right now, and he's carrying momentum. Coming off winning, Grand Slam track in Miami, I think he wants to, show up again, run 19.8, if not faster here in Philly, and then turn that over into the 400 and then get second place, running maybe a little faster than he already did. So I have him getting the win, but Matthew Hudson-Smith was injured. He was dealing with a hamstring injury while he was in Miami. We saw him, he didn't do that well in the 200, but he turned it back on in the 400 and actually managed to get third place in a very strong performance. So based off that and coming off winning the Kingston Grand Slam, I have him winning the 400 here. And then I think he's also going to step up in the 200. I think that Matthew Hudson-Smith has some of the most untapped potential in this entire group when talking about the 200. Maybe outside of Javon Powell. Javon Powell has a lot of potential there. But Matthew Hudson-Smith, he won the 200 at Kingston. He, unfortunately didn't do well in Miami, but based on what he did in that 4, I think that he's going to get third place in the 200, first place in that 400, leading him to second overall with Dream Richards getting that slam win. It's going to be very competitive, but this is my top 3. Dream Richards, Matthew Hudson-Smith, Alex Ogando, looking to see how this actually does play out. Now, let's move over to those short hurdles where we have a very, very stacked field. And this is probably one of the races, one of the fields that everyone has been asking for. We're talking about the top 2 guys in the world in Cordell Tinch and Trey Cunningham. We're talking about the Olympic silver medalist in Daniel Roberts. We're talking about, Freddie Crittenden, who's been, he got 5th or 6th place at the Olympic Games, got 4th place at the World Champs. Like, this is Lorenzo Simonelli, Sasha, this is a stacked field. But let's start from the bottom. This is tough because I have Daniel Roberts in 8th place and Jakub Szymanski, apologize for the pronunciation, I have him down in 7th, both getting 4 points. But because I have Jakub getting 6th place overall in the 100, and then Daniel is down in 7th and 7th in the 110 and then the 100, it's tough for me to put Daniel ahead of him. Now, Daniel Roberts, he of course is coming off the Olympic silver medal last year, the bronze medal in 2023, but he just hasn't shown that type of form in 2025 yet. Listen, Daniel was one of my favorite athletes to watch, but he just hasn't shown that form yet. So he might have a breakout here, but shout out to Daniel, shout out to Jakub. But up in 6th place, Freddie Crittenden. This is where I have Freddie. Freddie, I feel like, is getting a little more consistent overall when talking about the hurdles specifically. So I have him getting 4th place in those hurdles, but the 100 is just not working right now. Not working for Freddie right now. He's been, kind of bottom of the pack when talking about Grand Slam in that 100. So I have him down there in last place, but 6th place overall. I do think Freddie, similar to Daniel, he'll probably start to get going a lot more consistently as the season progresses. But shout out to Freddie, 6th place. So Lorenzo Simonelli, though, this is who I have coming up in my 5th place spot. Simonelli is kind of a sleeper, specifically in that 100, where he can really do some damage here. But in the hurdles, he's kind of getting going with this season, so I have him down in 6th place overall. In that 100, he's around 10.2 seconds, 10.25 seconds. So, and this was not too long ago, just about 2 years ago. So he has a lot of untapped potential there. You're talking about getting in the conversation with some of these other top athletes. So don't sleep on his capabilities when talking about that flat 100. But overall, I do have him getting 5th place in my overall standings. 4th place, this was tough, and I do have it as a tie between 3 different guys, but 4th place, Sasha Zoya. Now, this guy was the Kingston Grand Slam champion, and I have him down in 4th place at this point. It's tough because I think just the other guys in the field are going to be stepping it up just slightly. I have him 3rd place in the hurdles because I do think that he'll be able to really remain consistent there. But in the 100, I also have him 3rd place as well. I think that he got the win in the 100 in Kingston. He did step back in Miami where he got 3rd place overall in that 100. So I don't see him actually stepping things up there just because the competition is too tight. But overall, 4th place. Also, with the same 12 points, Jamal Britt. Now, we just saw Jamal Britt at the Miami Grand Slam track meet do very well in the 100. He did pretty decent, actually. He did pretty well in the 110 hurdles as well, but I do think he's going to get 5th in the hurdles and then 2nd place in that 100. I think that 2nd place, that 10-2 that he's run in the 100, like, that is dangerous, and he can also get slightly faster. Jamal Britt is someone who's not very high profile. He's not, super well known either, but I think that he is a very, very, very dangerous athlete that you should not sleep on. So I have him getting overall my 3rd place, also with the 12 points, just because he does have a 2nd place finish ahead of Sasha, who only has a 3rd place finish overall. But 2nd place and my winner, Cordell Tinch, Trey Cunningham. That's my top 2. Cordell Tinch, he also gets 12 points because I do think he's going to get second place in the hurdles. And this is tough because he's run the world lead, the 12.87 seconds, because he's number 4 all time in the hurdles. But I just don't think he's going to be able to take over Trey Cunningham because Trey has a little more consistency, especially coming off winning the meet down in Florida ahead of Grant Holloway. Grant Holloway is, easily or arguably the GOAT of the 110 hurdles. That builds another level of confidence. And since then, Trey has been clicking off wins like no other between that race in Florida, going to Grand Slam in Miami, going to the Adidas Atlanta City Games, and he's been running very fast. Now, that's not to take anything away from Cordell Tinch, who also got the 2 wins at the Chinese Diamond Leagues, and he ran 12.87 seconds. But he was at Grand Slam Track Kingston, didn't do as well, relative to the rest of the field, but I do think he's going to step things up to get second place overall. But I do have Trey getting the win in both the 110s and 100. I wouldn't be surprised to see Trey go 10-0, something crazy if he's in some really good form. I do think that Jamal Britt is going to push him in that 100, so we'll see how that does kind of play out. Cordell Tinch, he is one of the more overall talented athletes across the board with the long jump, the high jump, the hurdles, all that, but I don't think his 100 actually matches up as much to some of these other guys. But overall, Trey Cunningham, Cordell Tinch, that's my top 3 for the men's short hurdles. Let's finish things off in the men's long hurdles, where I'll start from top to bottom. Alisson Dos Santos, clean, clear. It's going to be impossible. Not impossible, obviously, but it's going to be tough to take him down. He's going to win the 400 hurdles. He'll ideally have competition in the 400, but think of what we saw in Miami, where Chris Robinson, he was coming off a world lead in the 400, right, just before Miami. Came to Miami, though, and Alisson Dos Santos, cleaned house. He swept things like it was no other. So I think that Dos Santos is just going to hold things down here once again. Chris Robinson, I do have in second, both in the hurdles and the 400. I think he's going to want to probably prove himself a little bit more, in this competition. Again, I don't think he's beating Alisson Dos Santos, but I think he's going to want to show, listen, I'm still here, right? I deserve to be in. He's been in all 3 slams, Kingston, Miami, and now here in Philly. So I think he's going to want to still be as consistent as possible. Just behind him, Trevor Bassett, he's in my 3rd place. And Trevor, he's gotten a little more consistent as well. He did well at the Tokyo Golden Grand Prix. He did pretty decent at the Miami Grand Slam. So I like his, his capabilities here. 3rd place in those 400 hurdles. We know that Trevor Bassett is one of the better 400 meter runners in the world. Silver medalist at the 2022 World Indoor Champs. He ran the 4x4 at the 2024 World Indoors. He also ran it at the 2022 World Championships in Eugene, at least in the prelims. So Trevor Bassett, he is locked there. I have him in 3rd place overall. Caleb Dean, I would love to put Caleb a little bit higher when talking about the hurdles, but he just seems to not be as consistent as one would like. He has the talent, he has the speed, he has all that, but I just can't place him higher than some of these other guys in the hurdles, despite his personal bests. But in the 400, I do have him getting 3rd. I would like to see him, step things up a little more in the 400 as well. But, we'll see how that does come together. So Caleb Dean in my 4th place. Then tied with 7 points, CJ Allen, Gerald Drummond. CJ Allen, pretty consistent as well. Same thing with Gerald Drummond. People sleep on Gerald Drummond, representing Costa Rica, but he's one who could also, make a little bit of noise in this competition. CJ Allen, he doesn't have as strong of a 400 best, but, we'll see how that does kind of play out. Finally, Assini Wilson, as well as Clement Ducos. Assini, he was at the Kingston Grand Slam track meet, so he's, getting another opportunity here. Clement Ducos, he competed in Kingston, got injured, so he wasn't able to complete the competition. He wasn't competing in Miami, but looks like he's back in the fold now. So it's tough for me to just guess where he's at. So unfortunately, just had to put him at the bottom of the pack. But we'll see how this actually does play out. So those were my top 8 for the Philly Grand Slam track meet going down this weekend. It's going to be pretty exciting. I feel like the momentum with Grand Slam track has been building every single month, every single slam, and Philly probably going to be another step up. I know people are going to have, criticisms and questions and all kinds of things, but I think that things are getting better and better. So let me know what you think. Give me either a top 3, a top 5, a top 10. Give me your predictions. I love doing these predictions to, get down into the nuances of who's done what recently and who's done what, in previous years and how they're going to, kind of go head to head. This really does get me excited and, build some anticipation for the meet. So let me know what you think. I got the women coming up just tomorrow as well. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Always appreciate y'all. Thanks for watching.